Can we take a random box of miniatures and turn it into an epic combat encounter? That means taking the story from this box, taking the monsters from this box, making a scene, making a story, and making it epic. I don't know, but we're gonna find out today. Let's go. Welcome back to the channel, everybody. My name is Garmin. This is the Storycraft Society, and this week we are going to be crafting a little miniature story out of a box of random miniatures. In case you live under a rock and don't know what these are, Wizards of the Coast puts out these random boxes of miniatures. You buy them, you get 4 miniatures in the box. They're honestly way too expensive for what you get, but you get 4 pre-painted miniatures that are in a box. And we were in our local game store, and Olivia said to me,
"Hey, I wonder if you could buy a random box of miniatures and make an encounter out of that box."
And I said,
"I don't know, maybe."
So I bought one. I didn't even really look for what I was going after. I just found one that was on the shelf, grabbed it, and bought it. It is this Mordenkainen Presents Monsters of the Multiverse box, and I believe that is connected to the Mordenkainen book that just came out a little while ago, but I don't know anything about any of these monsters, and I haven't spent a whole lot of time in that book either, so this is just going to be a journey for all of us. I have been flapping the old gummers enough. Time to open this box and see what we have. Here's our box, and we will slice her open. I'm not sure why the box has to be gendered, but we are where we are. And then okay, all right. So we'll go less exciting to exciting. Little ones. The first one we got, this interesting fellow here. It is a Deep Scion. Number 2, oh boy. I think this is a Sarasworn. Yep, it is a Wretched Sarasworn. This little guy. And then lastly, is this another Sarasworn? It is indeed a Lost Sarasworn. That's pretty cool. So the 3 small miniatures are 2 Sarasworn and a Deep Scion. And then for the big boy, we got this dragon here, which is a pretty cool model, but it is a young Deep Dragon. Okay, so here is our final 4, or starting 4, or the 4 we have. Now, I've been DMing for like 10 years or something crazy like that, and I have no idea what any of these monsters are. Like, I don't even have a guess. Sarasworn are just kind of cool because I know they're like Shadowfelly, but this other stuff, I have no idea. Deep Dragon sounds like it's going to be some kind of Underdark thing, which is kind of cool. But what that means is we need to pull out Mordenkainen's and start running through all these and see what comes out the other end. I'm gonna go ahead and learn some stuff, and then I'll let you know what I get. So I started to freak out because I was looking through Mordenkainen's and I could only find the Lost and the Wretched Sarasworn. Both the Deep Scion and the Deep Dragon were not in this book. And then it occurred to me that it is not Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes, which is what your boy happened to grab, but it is actually Mordenkainen's Monsters of the Multiverse, which, absolutely contrary to my thought, is a different book altogether. Sometimes it sucks to suck. Let's try this again. What in the literal heck? Now this time, all 3 of these, the Deep Scion and the 2 Sarasworn, are in here, but the Deep Dragon is like nowhere to be found. Like, I checked the dragon section in the back of the book, I checked the table of contents. Maybe I'm just like missing something. One second. So I checked my phone and it turns out that the Deep Dragon only appears in fizz bands, and I don't have fizz bands. So now I have to call a buddy and get Fizban's Treasury of Dragons, a picture of, I guess, the stats and lore and stuff. What the heck, wizards? This is ridiculous. It's not in one book.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Hey, buddy. I am in the process of working on a video, and are you home? I guess that's my first question.
I am not.
Oh, bollocks. So basically the shtick of the video is I bought a random box of minis, and then I'm gonna like set up an encounter in a scene or whatever from the, like, using whatever the minis are that are in the random box. And I got one of the Mordenkainen's Monsters of the Multiverse boxes, and one of the models that's in the box is actually a pretty dope young deep dragon, but it's not in Mordenkainen's Monsters of the Multiverse. So it's in Fizban's, and your boy doesn't have Fizban's.
Oh, well, that's not a problem because I have it on the D&D Beyond.
Well, that will work pretty awesome. If you can just like screenshot the lore and the stat block for me, I would greatly appreciate it.
Yeah, that shouldn't be a problem. Shouldn't be a problem.
Awesome. I appreciate you.
No worries, no worries.
Awesome.
Yeah, I was gonna try to call you, but I'm gonna be out all day doing inspections, so maybe mañana.
Tomorrow will work way better for me too.
Okay, cool.
Thank you.
Not a problem.
All right, talk to you soon. Bye. So now that I've learned a little bit about each of these monsters, I'm starting to kind of see a story come together. But really quickly, I'm going to go over each one here so we are all on the same page. So the Deep Scion is a creature that drowns or almost drowns and then ends up making a pact with a very powerful sea creature. Usually it's like a kraken or something, and then their new master, who saves their life, will send them back into regular society and will use them like as a spy to see what the folk on land are doing. They have a hybrid form, and then they have a regular humanoid form, and everything is basically just an act with them because they act like they are your friend or your ally, and then eventually you find out that they are actually just a servant of the Kraken. The next are going to be the Sarasworn. So the Sarasworn are monsters that come from the Shadowfell, and the whole shtick is the Shadowfell is such a messed up place. Eventually the emotions that people have manifest into these awful abominations. We'll start with, I guess, the Wretched. The whole thing is, this is just these little beastie boys that run around in big packs that feed on the fear of people who are afraid in the Shadowfell. It actually really sucks because it would have been nice to have had a whole bunch of these little guys because they are made to run around in packs, but it is what it is. They have a bite that latches on to a character and then sucks necrotic damage out of them. Then we have the Lost, and the Lost is the embodiment of those who feel fear and anxiety because they are lost in the twisting nothingness of the Shadowfell, right? The Lost has the ability to try and grab onto someone, and while they have that person grappled, they won't let go, and obviously they squeeze really hard so it does damage. But if any of the allies of the character that is hugged by the Sarasworn the Lost Sarasworn, the Lost, gets hit by an ally of the character held, they transfer that damage psychically into the person that they are holding. I will say that the Sarasworn are the biggest letdown as far as lore goes, because the one anchoring point of the lore of Sarasworn is that they are supposed to be the embodiment of emotion. So the more the characters feel those emotions, the Sarasworn are supposed to feed on that. If there is fear and anxiety around the Lost is supposed to get more powerful, which kind of doesn't happen anywhere in its stat block. I think that this is a monster that could definitely use a homebrew rewrite on my end, but that probably is not going to be this video. That will end up being another video. The last one that we're going to take a look at is the Deep Dragon, and thanks so much to friends who help me out when I'm in need of not having a particular D&D book. What I found out about Deep Dragons is, yes, they typically have their layers in the Underdark, but there are typically some very important parts of a Deep Dragon's cave, lair, home, that make Deep Dragons what they are. So one of the main things is they do not have the ability to shape stone, so there are a lot more passages that run through a deep dragon's lair, whereas some of the other dragons it was suggesting have the ability to shape stone, so there's no passages that go from room to room because they just shape it when they need it. Basically set up their lair in old abandoned ruins, and they can set them up in caves. They can do all of that. There is usually a great hall area where they have their minions that will work for them. I am imagining I'm saying things throughout this whole thing that you're starting to see where I'm going with the story stuff for this. But the other thing that happens with deep dragon lairs is that there is almost always some kind of a stream or river that is dammed up that is a fresh water source for the dragon that will be in their lair. There is a dam that would maybe catch bodies that have floated down the underdark stream and then got caught up in the dam, and then maybe a very powerful creature like a deep dragon could revive that creature, and then that creature could become like their minion. And then sometimes the dragon successfully resurrects people and turns them into deep scions, but then sometimes when they try to, bring bodies back, it fails, because sometimes trying to turn things into deep scions fail. And what do they turn into? They turn into sorrow sworn. So I have a direction to go with this. So I think what I'm going to do is set up some kind of an encounter that happens in a cave that is surrounded by some kind of ruins. There needs to be a body of water in it somewhere. This is not going to be the biggest, most epic super dragon lair, because that would be reserved for like an adult deep dragon or a ancient deep dragon. This is just a young one, so still hasn't quite gotten everything that they need organized yet, but they are starting to have some servitors in this lost and this wretched and in this deep scion. First step of the scene building process is done, and now I have my cave section, I have my ruins section, I have my water that runs through the center. I'm going to use this little area here, I think, as the pool that's going to be where the bodies and stuff got caught that the deep dragon will be able to, get them out of. I've got kind of chambers, not necessarily rooms. I do imply height of walls over there that are starting to crumble. Maybe this was like a big keep or something over on that side, but this is the area that's really going to matter. I certainly made sure to get myself a little bit of elevation, something that is up, so that adds a little bit of tactical complexity to the battlefield. Another thing that I'm going to do is set some bridges across over there that will add some cool tactical points. The last thing that I'm going to do is then start putting out some scatter terrain. So I figure those details are going to go in next, and then I will start seeing this thing come all the way together. All right. So I have gotten all of my scatter stuff in place. I've used rocks and stalagmites tights? No one will ever know. To hide the cracks in between the dungeon tiles as much as I possibly can. I have the ruins that bleed over from that side of the mat over onto the cave side of the mat. I have all of the bridges in place so that there are ways to get up and down. This was a super fun project because I had no idea what I was going to get into when I opened up that box. And the result of it is I came up with this really cool story in my head that might make it to my game table that I wouldn't have come up with otherwise. This deep dragon actually has a lair way up higher on this cliff wall than this little area here. This is just where he meets those who wish to be his servitor, and there is no way to get up to that upper level without just getting annihilated by the deep dragon, who just sits up on a perch and watches and will knock down anyone who tries to make their way up. So what it's going to require the players to do is to show up here and do something in order to get the dragon to come down and meet them, whether that be with role play or some tricky illusion. And once they get that to happen, then they have to come up with some way to not only deal with the deep dragon and trap him here, but they also have to come up with a way to deal with his servitors. And I also think that the deep scion would probably be some kind of an ally of the players, that they would then either uncover that he is an ally of the deep dragon and then deal with him somewhere else, or by the time he lures them here, he will then alert the deep dragon at the right moment to allow the deep dragon to fly up and away to safety. And then now the players are going to need to come up with yet another way to try and defeat him. Really cool encounter. I think it's going to combine some role-playing. It's going to combine some combat, and I couldn't be happier. So now I'm going to put miniatures on, because that's fun. Deep dragon, of course, lands there. The Scion will be over here and will be leading the unsuspecting player characters, and then hiding in wait is going to be the Deep Dragon's servitors. I think this could end up being a really, really, really cool combat, and I got it out of a mystery box of miniatures. So if you decide to try this, definitely let me know down in the comments below what you end up coming up with. I would love to see that. Share pictures of your build. Send it to the Instagram or the Facebook. I would love to check out what y'all come up with. The last thing is subscribe to the channel. If you haven't, share this video with a friend that you think would enjoy it. That's the #1 way you can help out a small YouTube channel. Like and comment on the video. That helps. And that's all I have for this week. So until next week, I'll be seeing you.